Hello, welcome to the Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 17, Traditional Neighborhoods and Modern Cities. And our topic is Neighborhoods, Traditional and Modern. Traditional neighborhoods denote old part of the city. In many American cities, these parts are referred to as inner city areas. Immigrant population with low quality of amenities and dilapidated or deteriorating housing conditions. No governmental investment marks these localities. As the city grows, the lower middle classes move out of the inner city areas and new immigrants move in these dwelling with low rent. Architecturally, inner city areas show traditional styles and forms of using space. They facilitate older styles of interaction and social networks. Middle classes and the rich population, on the other hand, inhabit outer city areas. These localities have more amenities, large plots of land, more services, and are scarcely populated. These are more modern neighborhoods with upmarket styles and forms of spatial use. In some cities, the traditional neighborhoods have been preserved as architectural heritage sites. As Sharon Jukin and others have pointed out, cities in the post-modern era symbolize cultural spectacles. Discussing the case of the Disneyland, she points out that the parts of the cities are now created, maintained, and marketed as items of consumption. Cities showcase dazzling, grand architectural and material worlds, where viewers can interpret and reinterpret spatial realities in multiple ways. Cultural hegemonization results from the standardizing impact of globalization, imposing universal food, beverages, and clothing style. In the global south, it is difficult to differentiate between traditional and modern neighborhood in the same way as in the US of the first half of the 20th century. In Mumbai, for example, the older neighborhoods with textile mills and lower class residencies are recently converted into upmarket malls and shopping areas. Here, the old defunct mill chimney exists, along with plush multi-story multiplex or mall. In many South Asian cities, the inequalities between access to resources and livelihoods result in the simultaneous existence of polar worlds. Now let us move to the next point, neighborhoods in recent times, suburbs, ethnoburbs, and so on. In recent years, works dealing with space, economy, and culture have pointed out how place internalizes the market, have theorized the ways in which the global economy is now controlled from a few cities, wherein financial services and speculative decisions are made. Though manufacturing is decentered through various continents, certain cities have emerged as global cities, global nodes of ethnic and technological flows. These writings have shown that local neighborhoods are today influenced by transnational capital, technological and cultural flows. This means that study of urban phenomena in terms of local community structures, territorially defined value systems would be irrelevant in the context of outsourcing and offshore production. Anthony King has reiterated this in his recent book. He reminds us that the suburbs meant an outgrowth of the city. Today, however, in many cities around the world, there are not just suburbs but also suburbs or alternatively globubs. By this way, we mean forms and settlements on the outskirts of the city, the origins of which economic, social, cultural, and architectural are generated less by developments inside the city or even inside the country, and more by external forces beyond its boundaries. The influences as well as the capital come from afar, either electronically or physically, and not least through the printed media. He argues that today's new kinds of suburbs sustain from outside state boundaries. Not just global forces generate these suburbs, extending the concept of post-colonial globalization used by Hopkins. He states they are generated more particularly by those of imperialism, colonialism, nationalism, as well as the diasporic migratory cultures and capital flows of global capitalism. These are the post-colonial globubs. King cites the concept of ethnobubs coined by the geographers V. Lee. It means suburbs, ethnic clusters of residential areas and business districts in large American metropolitan areas. They are multi-ethnic communities in which one ethnic minority group has a significant concentration but does not necessarily comprise a majority. This term was referred to describe San Gabriel Valley in the eastern suburban area of the Los Angeles County, with more than 158,000 ethnic Chinese. In 1990, this was the largest suburb Chinese concentration in the US. The ethnoburbs is the new outpost in the global economy, which emerges as the outcome of the influence of the international geopolitical and global economic restructuring. Changing national immigration and trade policies, local demographics, economic and political context also result in making of an ethnoburbs. He also discusses another category called technoburbs, reflecting on the role of the technologies in creating and maintaining suburbs. King refers to Silverstone and Robert Fishman. Fishman comments on the new high technological post suburbs growing along the edge of the old and underscores. The home-centered natures of the both physical and symbolic environment as technoburb and television promote their mutual interest. In their dependence on and encouragement of the decentralization, it is through television that the ethnoburb is instantly linked with the countries of home. The imagined communities of the ethnic recognition around the world. It acts as the engines of suburban by hybridizing, reproducing in the process of ambiguity of modernity. King's discussion of these contemporary processes shaping hybridities bring to the fore transnational immigration, diasporic communities, and decentralized production coupled with distantiated subjectivities. Now let us wind up the session and take rest. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self Learning Podcast.